Girls, research methodology and statistical analysis, which is also called simply RM, is one of the paper for you in third semester. Likewise, the other papers, this also have 80 marks pattern and 20 marks in out of 20 marks, 15 marks internals and 5 assignment. Likewise, the other papers, its title is nothing but, we call that as RM paper, which is nothing but research methodology and statistical analysis. So this is the paper which we have you have read in UG, like you have read QT paper, and in your second or third semester it a little bit resembles that. And here you are going to learn new topics also. In the fourth semester also you are going to get you are going to read QTBD paper, which is the extension, or you'll get a statistical based paper. So these two are not related to your commerce, means maybe you find the application in commerce, but its background is statistics. Okay, this RM paper, and in the fourth semester which you are going to read QTBD are statistical or quantitative techniques papers. So it consists of 5 units. So I am going to start with unit 2. So it majorly consists of, most of the part is nothing but theory 1. I think you can easily understand, and you can write by in your own words also. Majority out of 100%, the paper consists of 60 to 70% paper carries only theory part. So I think you can if you can understand, you can attempt the paper in a good way. So let us start. You starting from unit 1. I am going to start with unit 2. Okay, now what are the title of the unit 2? Collection. So what are the books you can follow is nothing but, I'll suggest you prescribed books. If not, I think generally I don't suggest that. Along with the prescribed books, as you have the general tendency to follow Rahul, you can prefer that also for all the papers, not only this paper. Anyway, I'll in the group or personally I'll send you the prescribed textbooks also for this. So I'm going to start with unit 2. Unit 2 consists of collection, presentation and analysis of data. Okay, collection, presentation and analysis of data. So before going to discuss the individual topics in this, let us talk about what is data. So what is data? So either it is commerce or science, whatever it may be the zone, always we deal with data. Okay, what is data? So if in the beginning only I said you a little small example I'll give you. If I said you that the paper consists of 5 units, okay, and you'll have 80 marks paper, 15 plus 5, something I discussed with all these involves some numerical values. So wherever you go, I think always whatever data, whatever topic, whatever task you have, always that involves some numerals, okay, relating to the particular topic. So all those together is known as the data. The best examples you can take is nothing but the marks obtained by a student of a class in a test, okay, represents a data. And I think during election time, okay, the opinions of people on voting is also forms the data for the particular survey. Similarly, if you want to, if you come to any manufacturing industry, let us say that a company is producing a particular item or a unit, then it requires a raw material for this. Okay, so it will prepare a list of all the raw materials required for the production of the unit. So all the raw materials and its quantity forms the data. So wherever we have a search is nothing but survey. Whenever you have a survey or any task or any project, whatever it may be, always the initial step is nothing but you'll have a different analysis to perform. To perform the analysis and draw the conclusions, you should have you should collect, or you should be with some data. Okay, should be with some information. That information is called data. So The examples just now we have said, while assessing the performance of the students, the marks obtained by students forms the data. Okay, so if the same one I am repeating, if you consider any manufacturing unit, okay, the raw materials for the production of the particular unit forms the data. So the answers or the information which we need to perform the analysis and to draw the conclusions is called the data. So how can you get, so this is what is data. Now what are the types of data? Means you will have two types of data which are nothing but we have two types of data, okay, which are nothing but primary data and secondary data. Okay, types of data. These are not the types of data, these are sources of data. So what do you mean by source? How source means the way, how do you get these data? The ways of or the sources of getting data can be classified into primary data and secondary data. So let us see what is primary data is. Primary data is nothing but generally when we are using the word data, okay, you are going to use two terms which are called investigator or examiner and respondent. Okay, just we took an example that the opinion of the voters during the general elections, there generally they'll forecast about the results of the election. For that they need some data. So there the one who collects the data is called as the investigator or the examiner. Means the one who is going to get the opinions of the voters are called investigators or examiners. The persons from whom they are getting the data, the voters, there forms the respondent. So while collecting the data, these two terms are generally used, investigator and respondent. Investigator is the person who collects the data and respondent is the person from whom he collects the data. So what is primary data? Primary data is the data which is collected for the first term and it has been never been used for any other purpose. Okay, so the primary data is the one which is collected by the investigator for the specific study for the first time, and it is original and it is not used by any other researcher for any other analysis, is called the primary data. Primary data is the data which is collected for the first time by the investigator and it has been never used earlier by any other researcher. So the example we can take is nothing but, so if I think the same example, the one I think let us say that the elections which are conducted in 2019, I think the opinion poll will be done and the data is only collected using before the elections, and this is not the data which is already collected and they won't perform the data that will be collected at the before the elections, like 1 month or 2 months, and the results will be analyzed. Means there the investigator is using the data only once. So this is called the primary data. So what are the ways of collecting the primary data? There are different ways of collecting the primary data. So what are those? Are nothing but interview method. Okay, he may conduct by conducting interviews. He may collect the data by conducting interviews or by surveys. These are the different ways of collecting the primary data. So by performing the interviews, the investigator may conduct a personal interview, okay, for getting the data. Personal interview means like if the investigator may approach to each and every individual uh, in his zone to collect the data. So the next one is nothing but telephonic interview. I think when we go for personal interview, when we go for telephonic interview, whenever the persons or the examiners from whom we are collecting the data are remote, then or to save the time and money, instead of doing the personal interview, he may get the data from conducting a telephonic interview. What is interview? Interviews are nothing but one-to-one question and answer sessions from which we get the required information. I think you know what is interview. Interview is nothing but one-on-one. The investigator will directly approach the respondent and he will collect the required information. So if when he go for personal interview means whenever we have the number of persons from which he is going to collect the data is less means he can choose the personal interview. If the persons from which he is not he is collecting the data are very remote, and he can go for telephonic interview. So what are surveys? Second one is nothing but surveys. Surveys are the form of questioning more rigid than the interview and involve larger groups of people. So during surveys, during interviews, what we said, one-on-one, the investigator will move from one person to another person. While collecting the data, whereas during surveys, okay, he can involve larger groups of the people to get the required information. Okay, so whenever we want to get information from, when do you conduct the surveys in general? Interview means generally we say personal interview. Interview means whenever we have limited number of persons. Okay, if you want to get, if your task is to collect the data from limited number of people, you will go for personal interview. Whenever your intention is to collect from a larger number of people, we go for surveys. Okay, next one is nothing but before discussing these observation and analysis, let us go to questionnaires and schedules. Questionnaires are nothing but, questionnaire name itself tells that if you want to conduct a survey. What is survey? Survey is nothing but if you want to see, if you want to get an answer for any particular question or any required project, you are going to conduct a survey. Survey means getting information from a large number of people. In that, to get the answers to the required questions, we are going to prepare a list of questions which is called the questionnaire. Name itself tells that questionnaire is nothing but a list of questions related to particular survey. So I think the best example is nothing but whenever before I think I'll give you a best example. I think you have come across that when you visit a particular shopping mall or anything, or if they launch any new product, I think they need a response from the customer. In such a case, what they'll do, they'll in general they'll give a form which consists of a list of questions to you regarding the product. You need to fill your response in the questionnaire or the question booklet given to you, and you are going to return to that particular customer care, and they are going to get the feedback on the product. Means questionnaire is nothing but a list of questions related to a particular task where the respondent is going to answer all the questions, and the examiner will get the required information through these questionnaires. So the second one is nothing but schedules. Schedules are nothing but, these are also a type of questionnaire only. The basic difference between these questionnaire and schedule is nothing but, here under questionnaire method, I said you have two names called examiner and respondent. Okay, respondent. If the questionnaire is passed to the respondent, if the questionnaire is filled by the examiner itself, so suppose that if I am conducting the survey, I am going to carry all the questionnaires to the respondents. So I'll ask each and every question from the questionnaire, and I am going to fill the response. Okay, I am going to fill the response means the questions are posed by the examiner, the reply is given by the respondent, and the examiner is going to fill all the questionnaire, all the answers to the questionnaires in correspondence with the respondent. This is called questionnaire. In schedule, schedule also consists of list of questions, but those schedules are just circulated among the respondents, and it is the duty of respondent to fill the questionnaire. Okay, so both are list of questions only. Questionnaire is filled by the examiner, whereas the schedule is filled by the respondent. Why we have two options means, whenever the respondent is illiterate, I think schedule doesn't work out. We should only go for questionnaire. Whenever the respondent is willing to answer the questions, instead of wasting time, we can go for schedules. So these are the different methods of collecting data and the primary data. So let us go to secondary data in the next video. Okay, thank you.